Oh, it is. It is. Donno Daily here on the 5 Reasons Sports Network. Shot out of a freaking cannon on this Monday afternoon. We are 6 hours away from free agency officially opening in the National Basketball Association. And you know our guy Pat Riley and the master of cap gymnastics, Andy Ellisberg, and Mickey Harrison are going to be super freaking active today. There's plenty of stuff already being reported on and being rumored on. So we are going to hit the ground running today, my friends. I apologize for scaring Ricky J. Mark with the stream. The scream, I should say, to open up the stream. That's how we do things around here on Daily Donno. We go crazy. We are live. We are with you for the next hour today. It's going to be an awesome, awesome show. Of course, you know there's plenty of Miami Heat conversation to be had, and we will have big conversations about it, whether it's me and Sean Stanley or later on in the show at around 12:40 p.m. Allana Tachauer from Clutch Corner is going to join us to talk about all of these Miami Heat scenarios, who is very likely to arrive today, who else is also somewhat likely to arrive today, and we're going to talk plenty of football as well, my friends. Miami Dolphins training camp is in action. You had the first 4 days in the books through Saturday, a big Saturday practice that was open to the public and featured big play after big play after big play. Jakari Givens, King Jock 24, is going to join us at around 12:15. We'll talk some football, and I know we'll also talk a little basketball with Jakari as well. He is one of the most versatile people on this network. Donno Daily is brought to you, as always, by the Quarterdeck Seafood Bar and Neighborhood Grill. The freshest seafood, my friends. I love their sushi. Their buffalo shrimp is my favorite appetizer on this planet or any planet. The burgers, sandwiches, and ribs are elite at the Quarterdeck. Make it your spot to watch every UFC pay-per-view fight for zero cover charge. Go to their website to peep their menu and find the location nearest to you at quarterdeckrestaurants.com. The Quarterdeck, come for the food, stay for the fun. My day got off to a weird start today. Oh, and by the way, Andrew Green, God bless you. God bless your family. I see our guy Andrew just made a donation on Super Chat. We appreciate you. All the love to you, sir. My day gets off to a weird start, Sean Stanley, because when I get up this morning, now my son, my 3-year-old, who's a huge Miami Heat fan, even though his name is Luka, he's a bigger Heat fan than he is a Luka Doncic fan. He had been kind of tossing and turning. He was waking up throughout the night. And then when I get him out of bed this morning, I realize why he was tossing and turning throughout the night. The young man, and cover your ears if you're squeamish, the young man had diarrhea his entire bed. I don't know what to do with that information. There was a lot of cleanup involved. I don't know if that's a bad omen for how this day is going to go for the Miami Heat, the Miami Dolphins, or for anybody, or Sean, because I can tend to be a glass half full type of guy. Maybe the way my son started his day is actually a sign that things can only get better from here, okay? Because the kid wasn't doing so hot this morning. I hope he's doing better now, and I hope the Miami Heat have a great afternoon and evening to come. And Sean, I hope you're having a better day than my son so far. How are you, sir?
I am, and I think we'll go with the latter. It can only go up from here, and hopefully all the signings are good, and we get in some good news for the Miami Heat and Dolphins training camp as well. We're getting some good things from there as well. So all is well in South Florida. We'll just leave the Marlins out of it.
Yeah, all is really well. Like, honestly, guys, this is shaping up to be the type of free agent period for the Miami Heat that Miami Heat fans live for, guys, because we live for the Hollywood stuff. We live for the moves. We don't live for standing pat and being complacent. We live for the wheeling and dealing. Big moves are coming starting today, I strongly believe. Guys, there are going to be lots of moving parts when it comes to complex sign and trades. Some of these scenarios are making my head spin. You know we're going to get those cap gymnastics from Andy Ellisberg, who's going to give a gold medal type of performance on that high beam today. And something we're also getting, and I love this, guys, because as a Miami Heat supporter, I learned from 2010 on how to embrace being a bad guy, how to embrace being the NWO, how to embrace fans of other teams being whiny bitches and being jealous of what Pat Riley is doing. And I think we're going to get that sort of summer because I'm already seeing when we're talking about all of these Kyle Lowry sign and trades. Now, if you go by the letter of the law, you're not really supposed to be working out sign and trades until free agency officially opens at 6 o'clock today. guess what, guys? You start to align yourselves. You start to get your parameters ready. There are ways to get around tampering. There are ways to circumvent those rules, and those rules are already being circumvented. And I'm already seeing fans of other NBA teams. Most of them are whiny, obnoxious Knicks fans who are complaining and accusing Pat Riley of tampering, okay? Now, what's happening now here? Sean, I don't believe this is a surprise based on, the step back that Miami took last season after being the bubble all-stars and NBA finalists 2 years ago. The emphasis was on keeping the band together. I do think there was unnecessary complaining by some Heat fans who thought, oh, yeah, why don't we just go out and trade for James Harden and for this, that guy, and the other. The Heat didn't have enough tradable assets. They sure as hell didn't have enough high draft picks, any high draft picks to include in trades. So there was only so much that they could do. But in years past, when Pat Riley has been complacent, there's usually a big course correction the following year, okay? Riley was complacent after the 2006 championship season, right? And then the following year, the Heat get run out of the first round, embarrassed, swept by the Chicago Bulls. Things got blown up after that. In fact, the table was set after that to build what happened in 2010, okay? After the 2016-2017 season, where the Heat had that amazing second half of the year when they went 30-11, Riley got complacent, handed out some bad contracts. Then it was time to course correct after that. And then last season, we keep the bubble bros together. We get swept in the first round, albeit by the future NBA champion. So Milwaukee sweeping the Heat in the first round didn't quite look as bad as we thought it would after they go on to win the title. But I do believe there's going to be a big course correction right now. And the sign, I don't want to beat around the bush anymore because enough people have already mentioned the names throughout the chat. I strongly believe, and I do depend on the reporting from some great folks in this network. When I see things from our guy, Adam Barai, from Ethan Skolnick, from Greg Sylvander, and look at it right here, this tweet in front of us, guys. Kyle Lowry has been the target for Miami since the 2021 season began. The interest in playing with Jimmy Butler was heard throughout the season, and we are getting closer to that becoming a reality. Although not finalized, only a major overpay, and that would be a major overpay by somebody else, could stunt this move. And I was listening to the awesome stream that Adam and Alex and Greg and Ethan had last night on the 5 Reasons Sports Network, and Barai put his number on. The only contract that could be thrown out by another team to derail the Heat's pursuit of Kyle Lowry would be $31 million per season from some other team. Because remember, Lowry is rumored, to be looking for about $30 million per year on a 3-year deal. Now, with Lowry very likely coming in, and guys, this is going to be more than likely a sign and trade, okay? The Heat can sweeten that pot a little bit for Toronto. Oh, and we'll get to the DeMar DeRozan thing in a second, believe me, because I have some opinions on that. But that was a report by Ethan, courtesy of Greg and Adam Barai. The Heat are trying to figure out a way to reunite DeMar DeRozan with his former Toronto Raptors teammate Kyle Lowry. So, unfortunately, Lowry coming in, and this is for the betterment of this team, and it's going to make the Miami Heat better, I have no doubt. But unfortunately, that means my guy Goran is going to be on the way out, most likely in that sign and trade, right? Because the Heat are not going to keep Goran for $19.5 million per season. They picked up his option. That's going to be sign and trade piece. And it tears to my eyes when I see Goran Dragic. You know what he's doing right now? Goran is walking around the streets of his beautiful home country, Slovenia, wearing a Jimmy Butler t-shirt. Like, oh, why does it have to be Goran? I love me some Goran Dragic. He's going to go down as, I think, one of the more underappreciated players in Heat history because he never had the chance to win hardware, to win a title with the Miami Heat. I'm going to miss Goran, but this move, Goran, as part of a sign and trade, Precious Achiuwa could be part of that as well, to bring in Kyle Lowry. It is for the better of this Heat organization. And on Lowry, I am bullish. The same way I'm bullish on Bitcoin, I'm all money today, I'm all crypto today, I am bullish on Kyle Lowry. Despite being 35 years old, the guy is still putting up numbers that you put up in your physical prime, and I believe he's going to be in that physical prime for a couple more seasons. That's backed up by his stats. That's backed up by his minutes. He just had one of the best three-point shooting seasons of his career, shooting just under 40% from three. So even if you do have to pay Lowry, and remember, in Ellisburg we trust, right? The Heat always find ways to make that money move around the right way a couple of years down the road, expiring contracts and what have you. Even if you have to commit to paying Kyle Lowry something close to that $90 million over 3 years that he's seeking, I think it's worth it to maximize the championship window that he and Jimmy Butler have, being players in their early and mid-30s. And Lowry, as noted by Adam Borai, has been dying to play with Jimmy Butler. So there's going to be great chemistry on the court and off the court with those two. So another name, okay? Another name we talk about as a potential incoming. I don't love this. Now, our guy Brady Hawk, who's going to join us tomorrow, so we're going to get into the very in-depth piece that he wrote, is talking me off the ledge a little bit, but you see it here, the tweet from Ethan Skolnick on 5 Reasons Sports. The Miami Heat are trying to figure out a way to reunite free agent DeMar DeRozan with his former Raptors teammate Kyle Lowry in Miami. Multiple sources have told 5 Reasons Sports. There are many complications to getting such a deal done, they write. And credit to our guys here on 5R, because you notice anytime one of these accurate reports come out from 5R, the bigger, names in NBA reporting tend to piggyback on these 5 Reasons reports, and they tend to get more of the credit than 5 Reasons gets, and I don't like that. Adam Barai, by the way, is a real person, and he will hopefully be joining us at some time later this week. I will be talking to him face-to-face for the first time. So at face value, I don't like the DeRozan idea at face value. I think there could be better options out there. And the reason why I don't like the idea in a vacuum is the guy doesn't shoot threes. So I wonder if you can figure out the floor spacing with him in a lineup, okay? On paper, I would prefer an option like Rudy Gay as a small ball 4 because he will shoot threes, and he does it at a high level. The balance would seem better. I mean, Gay shot over 38% from 3 last year. I also like the idea of Nick Batum, who's been linked to Miami. But, okay, guys, this is where I have to defer to Spoelstra and Riley's vision on these things. If they are really on board with the idea of bringing DeRozan to Miami, I can't say bring him home because he's a Los Angeles guy. There were talks about him and the Lakers, but I think him and the Heat are now becoming more likely. I am not arrogant enough to think that I know better than Spo and Riley when it comes to how DeRozan could fit with a Heat lineup. And also, here's the most important thing, okay? When I can say that I don't like the whole idea in a vacuum about DeMar DeRozan because of his characteristics, I don't know if I don't know how every piece of the puzzle is going to come together this summer, right? Because DeRozan, if he comes, he's far less likely than Lowry, who I believe is coming. I strongly believe he's coming. But if DeRozan also does come, that's move X. I don't know what moves X, Y, and Z will be. I don't know exactly how Spoelstra envisions his starting lineup and his rotation to go. Who's going to be on the floor with DeRozan, how much that spacing is really going to matter. And that's why I encourage you and everyone to check out the piece that Brady Hawk wrote. And by the way, I don't know how that dude is 17 years old, Brady Hawk. When I was 17 years old, no lie, I could barely tie my shoes. And this guy is breaking down tactics and floor spacing. The Miami Heat should hire that man. Now, I don't want them to hire him away from 5 Reasons Sports if he can find a way to do both, because I'm very selfish and I want him to stay on the team here. But the Miami Heat should find a way to hire that man. And if you want to get into Brady Hawk's dynamic about how DeMar DeRozan can fit in and not completely take a sledgehammer to the Miami Heat's floor spacing, I encourage you check that out at 5reasonsports.com. And I'm going to bring Brady Hawk on tomorrow to talk all about that. All right, before we get to that, my friends, we can talk basketball and football with this man. Our first guest of the day is going to join us. Remember, later today at around 12:40, we're going to talk with Allana Tachauer from Clutch Corner and get into some of these lovely Miami Heat conversations. Before then, we're going to talk some football and basketball with Jakari Givens, one of my absolute favorite people on the 5 Reasons Sports Network. He's at KingJock24 on Twitter. And something that I just learned about this man, Jakari, is I had no idea until a couple of weeks ago that not only can he talk football for days and talk basketball for days, he can also apparently talk pro wrestling for days. Like I see this guy turning up on the One Fall show with Sean Stanley and Jonathan Ramlakan, which is really good. I'm not even a big wrestling fan, and I watch these guys every week, which is a compliment to you. But Jakari Givens joins us now. Jakari, I hope you had an excellent weekend, sir. How are you?
I did. I'm good, man. Happy to be back on with Donno, man. I missed you.
I missed you too, man. And listen, I'm going to dive into some football with you because Dolphins training camp is in progress. But I also want to get your take on what I think is going to be happening throughout the next couple of days with the Miami Heat. The first of those is bringing in Kyle Lowry. Are you mostly on board with this or completely on board with it? Because I know one of the things people get concerned about is potentially 3 years, $90 million. I'm not as concerned about the money as I am about the production, even at his age of 35. So I'm bullish on this. I'm all in on it. What say you?
Lowry would be a great addition. I mean, I would love to see the Miami Heat go younger, because we haven't had that young piece in a long time. We do have Bam. Jimmy's an aging superstar, but I love the idea of having Kyle Lowry because he opens up the floor for Bam Adebayo. Bam will become a better player in the pick and roll, obviously, with Lowry. Lowry's a junkyard dog on defense, so he takes some responsibility off of Jimmy Butler and off of Bam defensively, and you remove that. That with Goran Dragic, you have more scoring, but with Lowry, you have more of an all-around better player. So I love the idea, and it also makes Bam a better player with his best attribute, which is passing, because he'll be kicking that back out to a Kyle Lowry for three, or hitting Lowry on the cut, diving to the cup. So you love the idea of Lowry, I know, but this is a win now league, so it's not really about, if a guy is 36, 37. Like, no, this is a win now league. Does not matter how old a guy is in basketball. As long as he can contribute, he's good to me.
Jakari Givens from the 5 Reasons Sports Network is with us here. Now, Jakari, I'm expecting Lowry, and then if, let's say, DeMar DeRozan comes in as well, what do you think the expectation should be for the Heat in the playoffs next year? Because I think if they land both of those guys, it's got to be based on the expectations, Eastern Conference Finals or bust. That's where I'm drawing the line. Eastern Conference Finals or bust. What do you think?
I kind of agree with you. The only thing is, it just depends on how the other teams move. If you, say for instance, if Philadelphia gets a Damian Lillard, then you kind of have to contend with that. So
yeah,
it just depends on the moves the other teams make. But if Miami makes those moves, they should be in the Eastern Conference Finals against a Brooklyn Nets team who I think will come back very loaded and ready to go.
I love it. Jesse Lockhart says EFC or bust. I think he meant ECF, Eastern Conference Finals or bust. I totally am on that, man. Now, I do say that every year. I said that even last year with the group that the Heat had, but that was coming off an NBA Finals appearance. I don't think it was that unreasonable to say Eastern Conference Finals or bust, but I'm doubling down on that this year with the idea that the Heat will definitely be getting better this offseason. Now, the Miami Dolphins have training camp in progress as we're joined. I do want to talk some football as well here with Jakari Givens. Now, Jakari, I'm very anxious to see what happens with Xavien Howard because the Dolphins do have more leverage than X. And it already sounds like X is becoming a little bit more open to the idea of working out something with Miami. Because when he made that statement on his Instagram 6 days ago, that sounded to me like a guy who was turning the page on any possibility of wanting to stay with the Miami Dolphins. Like he wanted to get the hell out of town. And then a few days later, over the weekend, he speaks to the media and says he is hopeful to get something done to stay in Miami. So right there, that tells me maybe the fences are being mended a little bit, or at least he's understanding that he doesn't have as much leverage as the Dolphins have. But my question to you, Jakari, is because unfortunately, Noah Igbenogany has not exactly been stepping up these last few days, right? Nick Needham has been all right. Byron Jones, yes. But how much worse do you think it makes the Dolphins if they were to trade away Xavien Howard? How much worse does that make their defensive backfield?
Well, you have to look at it like this. The Dolphins got better up front this offseason. So, what negates a bad secondary is a good pass rusher. You don't have any time to throw the football. It doesn't really matter who's back there covering. But losing Xavien Howard will be major for the standpoint, you're losing a top 12 corner, top 10 corner in the league. Like, you have probably a top 5 tandem in the league, him and Jones. I did not like that Howard was trying to underslight Byron Jones, just because Byron Jones, people forgot that this guy was considered a top 5, top 8 corner in the league when he went on the free agency market. Xavien Howard benefited from having Byron Jones on the team last year. I've been saying this for over a year. You don't catch 10 interceptions unless you're getting targeted. The top guys don't get enough targets to catch interceptions. And you know, from a league standpoint, they watch film. So they're going at Xavien Howard because they know who the better player is. Byron Jones is a better cornerback than Xavien Howard. I know people are going to look at the season, oh, he caught 10 interceptions. He does not do that if you don't have Byron Jones, because teams were afraid to throw at Byron Jones. Now this season, if Howard ultimately does stay, it's going to switch. Teams are going to target Byron Jones, and he's going to have the opportunity to have a strong season with a 6 or 7 interception season. The only thing with Byron Jones is he can't catch. So, you know, it took him 2 years to finally catch an interception, and he caught it off a tip against Kansas City. So you have to look at it that way. Like I said, with Howard, they were already a top 5 defense. Without him, I don't see them dropping that far off. I think they'll be probably top 10 at worst, just because schematically they'll be able to recover. And whatever you're bringing back for Howard, you don't know what you're bringing back. So Igbenogany has struggled, but I like I told people, Igbenogany's only been playing corner for 4 years. Switched over from receiver. 2018 was his first year. 2019 he got drafted. Well, it was his rookie year. And 2020, this is his. You know, we're in his second year right now. So I think Igbenogany in year 3, not this year, next year, will probably finally be what the Dolphins expect him to be. Corner is not an easy position to learn. He got drafted because he's a freak athlete. The guy's a 4'3" guy, 40-inch vertical guy, so he's a freak athlete, and they're banking on their coaching to make him a all-pro corner.
You know, and another thing that there is some argument coming in on the chat, and that's fine with people who do not agree that Byron Jones is a better corner than X. Now, the thing is, if I'm going to rate X on his best season, which was last year, then yeah, I can't make the argument that Byron Jones is better. I can't make that argument. But the thing about X that I get a little bit concerned with, and I almost wonder, now I've been on record in saying this, and I'll double down on it. I do not want the Dolphins to trade X. I would like X to be a Dolphin next year and years beyond that. I want him to be a happy camper and do his thing because he makes this team better. He was the best player on this team last year. But I also wonder if the Dolphins were to trade him and get a big package in return, if they might even be trading him at the right time, because not only is he coming off his best season, he's also coming off his healthiest season, because Jakari staying healthy is not something that Xavien Howard has excelled on. In fact, the season right after the Dolphins gave him his current contract, which at the time made him the highest paid defensive back in the league, he repaid the Dolphins the year after that by playing only, I think, 5 out of 16 games the following year. So health has not been his strong suit, right? So if I can get 17 regular season healthy games from X and I'm getting his best, the guy is fantastic, but he hasn't done that time and time again throughout his career.
Yeah, and that's kind of what put him in the position he's in now. He was never healthy. He cashed in because the Dolphins were willing to pay him. So I cashed in. I've been injured. I cashed in that $19 million. That's why he came back. Oh, I didn't really understand the contract. And now he come back. To his point, he's not with that agent anymore, right? So the agent, the agent put him in this position. He then felt disrespected from the Dolphins signing Jones and Igbenogany. Then comes back, has one of his healthiest seasons, plays, has a phenomenal season. But that's just a sample size. How many times has X played in all the 16 regular season games, right?
Right.
So I really do think that's one of the biggest questions with him. I don't think you get a big haul for him anyway. I think he'll be right around the edge of a 2nd or 3rd round pick. I've been on record saying I will only move Xavien Howard if it's to get Deshaun Watson, because you're upgrading. You're getting a top 5 quarterback at that point in the league. I do not see because you in the league you don't see player-to-player trades, so you're not going to see Howard for example Marshawn Lattimore, Nick Chubb, or Kareem Hunt. You're not going to see nothing like that. Only thing I would say Miami should do if they decide not to trade X is probably add a Chandler Jones. I think Chandler Jones would be someone great for Jalen Phillips to learn from, and I think it'll make that pass rush deadly because you can go ahead and move Agba over to the 3 tech on rush downs. It gives you a plethora of things to do defensively.
Let's talk about an offensive player in camp who's been absolutely feasting, and that's Albert Wilson. And I admit his performances so far caught me a little bit by surprise. And I think part of it is just recency bias, right? Because we haven't seen this guy in forever. Like he opted out. Sat out last year, was hurt prior to that. But the thing I think that impresses me most, Jakari, because we know Albert Wilson is fast. That's no secret. And we know the guy has great abilities. But I just think the way he's clicking with Tua, because they haven't played together before. The last time Albert Wilson played, Tua wasn't in the league yet. And the chemistry that they're showing already in camp, you would think these guys have been throwing it, that Tua's been slinging it to him for years. And so now, the Dolphins have a lot of bodies and a lot of depth at wide receiver, and I didn't think Albert Wilson would necessarily make the team. He has now become basically uncuttable, right? I mean, there's no way this guy isn't on the team.
Well, he's what the Dolphins are molding. You look what they added this offseason, which was the guys with speed, right? Will Fuller, Jalen Waddle, and that's what they're in the mold of. And Albert Wilson, when healthy, was explosive. That year the Dolphins made that run with Gaze. Wilson was going absolutely crazy. The first couple of games, I remember the game against the Raiders where he caught the screen pass, went 70 yards. So, and he's what Tua needs at receiver. He's a guy that he's a great intermediate to short passing game guy where he's just getting the ball out of his hands. Those guys are making plays. So he fits what Miami needs and likes. I am not shocked by the resurgence just because he had a year off of football. This is probably the best his body has felt in probably 5 to 6 years, however long he's been in the league, because you got to think about it. Really and truly, you don't have an off season to get healthy. You know what I'm saying? You go, season's over, come, February, March, you're back in minicamp, back working out. You're getting prepared for minicamp. And Wilson has always been, before he signed with Miami, he was probably a bubble guy. So he's probably having to extend a lot of energy to make the roster. Now, I think this guy is for sure going to make the team. I would not be surprised if they kept him and Grant over Bowden Jr. And I think Preston Williams may be a trade candidate. Just because he's never healthy.
Yeah.
And I don't think he fits what Miami wants anymore. Mac Hollins has done what I think a lot of guys in the league who are receivers. If you can't cut it at receiver, it's okay. Go put your hand down in the dirt, be a tight end. He's been excelling at tight end. And Mac Hollins deserves a very credit because he's accepted the move and he's dominating in the role as a tight end. And I think, to be honest, if he continues to trend away, I think it makes Mike Gesicki expendable. Maybe even before the season ends, you can make a trade and bring back some value for him.
Wow. Jakari Givens joins us here on Donno Daily here on 5 Reasons Sports Live. Now, a player who I think is going to make a lot of media members around the country have to apologize to him in a couple of months because I'm saving the receipts, believe me, is Tua Tagovailoa. Now, a storyline so far, Jakari, in camp has been explosive plays. I mean, the Dolphins' offense have been really explosive in camp so far. In fact, my guy Omar Kelly said something to the effect of, he's been covering the Dolphins since 2007. That's when he switched over from the Canes beat to the Dolphins beat. And he's a guy we know can be very critical of offensive play, more critical than most. And he mentioned he can't remember a season since 2007 where he's seen this many explosive plays from an offense. So Tua and Albert Wilson and company have been providing that. Tua had a couple of bad INTs the first day, and he's been on cloud 9 since then, Jakari. In your mind, how much is Tua going to improve? How much of a jump is he going to make on the field from year 1 now to year 2?
Well, the guy's talent was undeniable anyway. He flashed last season in games. You look at the Buffalo game, the last game of the season. Yeah, they got blowed out, but he had an okay game. Kansas City, he played very good. He played very well against the Cardinals, which was his best game, right? I think people took the sample size of the Las Vegas Raiders game and the Denver Broncos game as this guy's not ready. But no, Tua has all the tools to be great. That's one. And 2, he had a real offseason. So he was going to make a jump regardless of what people thought. And what did the Dolphins do? They went and got him guys to make plays. The 3 things that need for a successful quarterback and a young quarterback is play calling, playmakers, and protections. They have done all 3 of those things. So this guy is ready to succeed. And it's for instance, with Trey Lance, right? He's the quarterback of this season who's most set up for success. You look at Justin Herbert, he was in the same position last year. He had the protection, had the playmakers, and he had the play calling. So they called the game towards his locking. Tua did not have the playmakers last year. He did not have the play calling last year with Chan Gailey, and the protection was okay, whatever. It was whatever. Now he has the playmakers, the play calling, and the protection. And the Dolphins' protection doesn't need to hold up that long because they're getting the ball out quick. It's a lot of quick game, and then you'll get hit with the shots downfield with those guys. So I think they've done a good thing with the 3 Ps of the quarterback. It was just getting him playmakers, and Waddle, Wilson has come back, Parker, Mac Hollins moving to tight end. You still got Mike Gesicki out there who's on the COVID list right now. But think about that. And then they got him protection. The offensive line has been holding up. Dieter has been playing very well at center. You still have a couple of position battles to go, but they've been playing well. And then the play calling. Last year we didn't see a lot of motion with the Dolphins. This year you're seeing it with the pre-snap motion. Waddle, Wilson, those guys should be in motion every play because it makes them unguardable. You can't touch them off the line. Free releases, option routes. So they've done a good job with those things. It just comes to the game, right? To see if the protection holds up is probably the biggest question mark out of those 3 Ps.
Really well said. You guys want to make sure you're following this man. He's at KingJock24 on Twitter. He's all over the 5 Reasons Network, including the 6th Ring video stream on the Canes in college football.
This Friday.
Oh, my God. I'm not ready. This is too much. This is too much going on, man.
You're ready.
Oh, my God. And, of course, you can watch him as well on One Fall with Sean Stanley and Jonathan Ramlakan. How long have you been into the pro wrestling? I just had no idea. I had no clue you're into that.
I've been watching pro wrestling my whole life. I kind of, started to do, all the reporting and, deep diving in it probably about in 2014, going on sites, following reporters that, cover wrestling. I really enjoy it. It's something that I do in my free time. So every Monday, Friday, Wednesday, Tuesday, I'm watching wrestling. It's something I love. Sometimes it gives me motivation. Even when I used to play football and before I, cut the game up, I would go imitate the wrestling. So it gives you a character and persona. We're gonna have a big show this Thursday actually because a lot of news has broke with the release of some wrestlers and the return of some guys. So I can't wait, and I love it. And obviously, Donno, I'm going to be here with you. It's football season, so
love it.
It's my time to shine, man. I love it.
Now, who is your go-to pro wrestler? Because you say getting motivation from guys cutting promos and stuff. Who was it that got you the most fired up?
Whew, that's a good one. So early in my career, it used to be The Rock just because of how he talked. And then later, it was CM Punk just because of the straight edge. He was straight nonsense, straightforward, honest persona, his character played out. So that's what I went to, and I love how he was I'm the best in the world. If you check my Twitter bio, you see it. I have CM Punk's quote, 25-8-366, best in the world.
Nice. Well, that's awesome. Best in the world right here, Jakari Givens. Jakari, thank you so much, my friend. Enjoy the rest of your week.
You too, man. Thank you.
By the way, bro, did he throw me off? Threw me for a loop when he reminded me the Canes camp is starting on Friday. It's like, everything hits you at once. Like for the last month, like I find myself betting on Olympic women's soccer and like high jumping, things I would never even imagine watching. And then now it's like we got NFL training camp and preseason has come up. The Hall of Fame game is on Thursday night, by the way. Cowboys and Steelers. Hall of Fame game is Thursday night. You know, before we know it, like the NHL and the Heat are going to be back in training camp. I mean, free agency going on in the NBA, which is bonkers. I am not ready whatsoever for Canes camp to start on Friday. I mean, Sean, are you – I hope you keep a Rolodex or something. Like you keep detailed notes because you've got to keep me organized as well.
Yeah, well, we'll talk about that. We'll talk about that end of it. But this is a great time right now for sports with everything picking up. And now, like you said, when you guys were talking about the Hall of Fame game before we came on air, I was like, wait, that's this week? I didn't even realize. I mean, we're only, a week, 10 days from Dolphins, first preseason game and everything else, man. This is a great time.
By the way, I'm really glad that we get the extra regular season game and one fewer preseason game. Preseason, like outside of the dress rehearsal, I'd rather have a root canal than watch, more than one half of preseason football. Like there's a novelty to it. I always tune into the first part of the Hall of Fame game because that's like the official football is back moment. And, I feel an obligation as someone who covers the Miami Dolphins for a living to watch as much Dolphins preseason as possible. But it gets painful, man. It gets painful. So subtracting a preseason game for the extra regular season game is fantastic. By the way, we have a lot more Heat talk to come. Allana Tachauer is going to join us in a few minutes. I want to see if I can sneak in, though, right here, my top 5 Miami Dolphins training camp performers so far, because that was something that I had tweeted out last week. We got some submissions from our listeners on Twitter. For those who didn't see it on Twitter, if you're on the chat right now, give me your top 5 performers so far in Dolphins camp. I'm going to start from number 5 and work my way up to number 1. I've got to throw some love at number 5, and I am in lockstep with our guy Louis D. Sung on this one, that you have to throw some love to Michael Palardy, the punter. That's right, the punter. But he looks so much better already than Matt Hawk. The placement and the hang time and the accuracy and the power from this guy is absolutely unreal. So I've got to give the punter some love. And I know that in preseason and training camp, you may forget how important punting is. But guys, when we're in the dog days of the regular season and we're having to play the field position game, you're going to say, God bless the fact that we have this Palardy guy with us. Number 4, I'm going to go on the offensive line. I've been impressed with this dude so far. And I know it's early in camp, but let me give him some love. Michael Dieter. He's the Swiss Army knife of the Dolphins offensive line. And Dieter he's emerged as the starting center. So color me impressed, right? Beating out the likes of Matt Skura for that position. And Dieter, I tried to hype this guy up a couple years ago when we drafted him, and now he's really stepping up and carving out a starting role. So I am impressed. My number 3, okay? I wanted to make sure I put a defensive player on this list. And I'm not going to say he's been the MVP of camp so far, but I am impressed with Nick Needham at boundary corner. Like he's been really the next man up for Xavien Howard, who's, missing time with the ankle injury / the contract situation, whatever you want to say. And Needham is making plays. He's been solid. He's had a consistent first week of practice, which is really important. Like I'm glad Needham is stepping up because Noah Igbenogany is not so far. Right? Because if Xavien Howard, God forbid, does end up getting traded, Noah Igbenogany was really the guy we hoped would step up and make us forget about X, but he's not doing that, okay? My number 2, Tua for number 2. A bunch of media blowhards from the Colin Cowherds of the world and the Skip Baylai. They are going to owe this man an apology in a couple of months. Tua has been freaking balling. Big plays, multiple big plays every single day. The leadership is getting there. The authority in the huddle. The guy's gotten bigger and stronger because guess what? Didn't have to rehab his hip all preseason like he did last year. He can actually focus on making his body better. The understanding of the playbook has gone up. And then my number 1 performer in camp so far. This is not going to surprise anyone who's actually paying attention, right? If you're paying attention to what the Dolphins are doing, Albert Wilson has been the MVP so far. When I talk about all those bombs that Tua is throwing, 70% of those are being caught by Albert Wilson. 63 yards, 65 yards, 25 yards, 45 yards. He has been catching bombs and burning defensive backs along the way. I didn't think this guy, Wilson, as I mentioned with Jakari, I didn't think he would actually make it past training camp and be on the team, but he is proving to be an untouchable part of this roster, guys. He didn't play with Tua last year because he opted out due to COVID, and yet somehow he's got more chemistry with Tagovailoa than any other receiver on the roster right now. Even Jalen Waddle, who's also having a nice camp. I don't want to disparage Jalen, but you would think Tua and Wilson have been playing together for years. They have hit the ground running. So Albert Wilson is my number one, Tua number two, Nick Needham number three, Michael Dieter number four, and Michael Pilardi, the punter, at number five. And I have a feeling our next guest could end up being the MVP of the show today because we have so much to get to on the Miami Heat, and she can provide a lot of insight on that. From Clutch Corner, Allana Tachauer joins us here on Donno Daily on 5 Reasons Sports. And as you see there on her header, she is the first lady of 5 Reasons. Allana, welcome to the show. How are you?
Thank you so much. I'm doing great. Excuse the unusual headphones. My AirPods don't really work. So this is what we're working with, I guess, during free agency.
Hey, it's not so bad. I haven't even adopted AirPods yet. I'm a late adopter on pretty much anything. So in 5 years, I'm going to find some AirPods. We'll have already moved on to the chip in the head by then. But in 5 years, I'll say, I found some AirPods for $30. Let me try these out. Now, Allana, we talked about it to start the show. I think this is going to be a really fun week and a really active first day of free agency for the Miami Heat. Do you have any doubt that Kyle Lowry is on the way in? Because I don't want to take it for granted, because I've been talking today like it's already a done deal. So many reports, including from our very own here on 5 Reasons, are essentially saying Lowry is coming in. Do you have any doubts that this gets done?
No, I think it's as good as done. Please don't hit me with any tampering fines. But I don't think that Heat fans have anything to worry about.
Oh, man. Now, how much better do the Heat get with Lowry on the floor? Because even at 35, I think he still has it. He can shoot three-pointers at a very high clip. And also, he's been dying to play with Jimmy Butler. So I think there's going to be a lot of chemistry there on and off the floor. Even if it comes with a high price tag, I think this is a great deal for everybody.
Yeah, no, definitely. I know people like to kind of harp on the age, and I am one of those people. But at the end of the day, I do think he's going to still move the needle on some degree. At some level, I think he's going to make Jimmy and Bam way better. I think, to your point, it's not only about the X's and O's. He really wants to be here, and I think that goes a longer way than a lot of people give it credit for. I think that on-court chemistry is super important. I don't think that's the only move that we should be making. We still have to keep in mind that we have to go through the Nets and we have to go through the Bucks, but I think people should be all in on this. I think people should be excited, and I'm sure Jimmy and Bam are going to be.
Yeah, somebody, Welch writes in on the chat, Allana will be bummed if Duncan is back. Okay,
this is a narrative that started because of Michael Christian, and I am going to get him later on tonight because we're recording Feel the Heat. A new episode will be dropping tomorrow, but there's some narrative going around that I hate Duncan. I do not hate Duncan. I called him one-dimensional at some point. I have been proven wrong. We'll see if he comes back. But Welch, we need to get rid of this.
Now, what about another player who I do not think is back? And as far as I'm concerned, shoot him to the other side of the galaxy. I mean, he is a free agent. But what do you think happens with Victor Oladipo?
I would be shocked if we bring him back. And again, I know people think that I don't want him. I know we did kind of a stream on the trade deadline, and I visibly was not happy to have gotten him. I just think his injuries have gotten the best of him. I don't think that he's someone we should take a chance on again. I know there's people who want him back, and for the right price, I guess it would be worth it. I think he played 3 or 4 games for us and he looked decent. I just don't have confidence that his injuries won't be a problem moving forward. It's unfortunate for him, but I think at this point we are on Jimmy's timeline. We need to win now. So I don't really want him back.
Now, a player we were 99.9% sure is on the way out, but I love this player so much, and I wish him the best. This is like when you're in like a really good breakup where you want the best for the other person, even if you can't be together anymore, and that's Goran Dragic. I mean, he's going to end up being part of this Kyle Lowry deal. But then where things get complicated, and this is a little bit above my head and above my pay grade is, so if Dragic ends up getting sent to Toronto as part of this deal, Toronto could then deal him again. That might not be his final landing spot. So where do you think Dragic could or should wind up when the dust settles?
I think he should be in Dallas. I think everyone can agree that he would be thrilled there. He deserves to be happy. I know I've been very critical about Heat Twitter. They've been doing Goran so dirty. I know he didn't have a great season, but let's not forget that if he were healthy in the bubble, we probably would have taken the title. He's given so much to the organization. We needed a bright spot, after the big three fell apart and Chris Bosh went out with blood clots. And I just don't think people are giving him the credit that he deserves. I want him to be happy. I want him to find that happiness in Dallas.
Yeah, same here. And they can make little Slovenia there in Dallas, and it sounds like a good time. And it's like I get sad, Allana, because I see these photos today of Goran. He's back home in Slovenia, and he's walking around wearing a Jimmy Butler T-shirt. So it's just like, I want Goran to be happy, and I want the best for him. Another name that's being pretty strongly linked to the Heat. I don't think this is as likely or not quite as likely as Lowry, but Lowry's former teammate DeMar DeRozan. And anytime he's mentioned, because he doesn't shoot threes, doesn't like shooting threes, people start to panic about the floor spacing dynamic. How much would that concern you if DeRozan were to arrive?
I'm not as excited about DeRozan as everyone else. I think that is a problem. But the other problem for me is that we're just small. And that can work for some lineups against some teams. But I think for that to be kind of the way that we're going into the season on a nightly basis kind of worries me a little. With that said, I think he wants to win, and I think he'd be willing to do what it takes to do that. I also think that if any coaching staff can kind of mold a player to fit their offense, it is the Miami Heat's. So I think if we get him, I'm less worried once he's actually here that things will pan out. I just don't know how excited I am about that. It really just depends on if he's willing to take that mid-level exception or not.
Other names we see linked to Miami, Rudy Gay, who I do like, Nick Batum, who I also like getting linked. Do you see a lot of smoke there? What is the likelihood that one of those guys could land here?
Yeah, I think both Gay and Batum, although Batum seems to be picking up a little bit more speed, have been definitely linked to us. I'm not big on Batum. I know that's an unpopular opinion. I was actually scrolling through Twitter yesterday, and I was trying to find one other person who agrees with me there. Ooh. I don't see it as the culture fit. I find him kind of soft. I also think he's injury prone, so I'm actually not in on Batum. Again, I trust the front office. If he comes, I will support, but I could do without him.
I've noticed every time we're talking Heat on this episode, the chat goes crazy asking about centers, about big man. And you mentioned this lineup being kind of small. So what options, realistic or otherwise, could you see as big men who could wind up here?
I know that Drummond keeps coming up, and they've been, he's been linked to the Heat for about 2-3 seasons now, but I would rather be small than have Drummond personally. Someone was floating around the idea of Hassan coming back. That's just not happening. I actually was not a Hassan hater. I just think he's kind of an overgrown child, and I just love him for who he is, but I don't want him back. So I don't really know what to do about the center problem. I want Dedmon to come back for sure. I know he's not going to be the solution, but I think the way that he slipped in immediately and made an impact, I don't think that should go overlooked.
Allana Tachauer from Clutch Corner is with us here on Donno Daily on the 5 Reasons Sports Network. If the Heat have as good of a free agent period as I think they're going to have, because Lowry seems pretty much done, and if they were to add someone like a Rudy Gay or a DeMar DeRozan, even if you and I may not be as high on him as some people, where do you think that shifts the expectation for next year? Do you think the Heat are going to enter next season as Eastern Conference Finals or bust, second round or bust? How do you think we're going to judge them expectation-wise?
I think that Heat fans are going to have very high expectations. And I, to be honest, think that's kind of the issue that we've had lately. I think fans are putting such unrealistic notions on not just the team, but specific players. I think Tyler Hero is a great example of that. I still see us only being maybe third or fourth in the East. Now, obviously it depends what other teams do. I think Greg keeps making this point that it's really hard to judge the East as a whole until free agency is over because we don't know what other teams are up to. I also just want to keep in mind the trade deadline still exists. So who we start the season with may not be who we end the season with. I think people are just in such a rush to get something done now that they're forgetting that.
The Los Angeles Lakers stole a lot of the headlines late last week with the acquisition of Russell Westbrook. And, I'll always point out, hey, LeBron just needs more and more help. I'm a team petty guy. Forgive me. Forgive my pettiness. But what do you think the expectation is for the Lakers? Like, should they be championship favorites heading into next year?
Yeah, I think so, to be honest. And I'm a huge Phoenix Suns supporter. I think that last year was a little bit wonky. The Lakers should have taken it. I don't see them having any problem in the West. The Suns are great, but I'm not sure that they could have done it again if the circumstances were different. I like Russ in LA. I know people are saying it's not a good fit and they're just kind of chasing big names, but I don't know. The thought of him and LeBron playing together, at least, from a personality standpoint, kind of excites me. I'm still a LeBron fan, so I wish them the best in the West.
Now, I don't know if you were part of this, but I noticed like a week or two ago, some of the personalities on 5 Reasons came together for like a review episode of the Space Jam movie, Space Jam 2. Mm-hmm. And of course, being team petty, I had to bring this up. Even my 3-year-old son hated the movie. Like he will never be a LeBron fan after watching that. It's got like a 4% on Rotten Tomatoes. Did you watch the movie? Were you a part of that review?
I was in the comments. I did not jump on, but I did watch the movie. There's no comparison to the original, obviously. And LeBron's acting was horrible, but at the same time, it's meant for kids. Your kid, I mean, maybe I'm wrong. I thought most kids liked it. But I just think we're holding him and just the entire franchise to too high of a standard. But yeah, I mean, there's no comparison to the original.
And my kid is a tough crowd. I shouldn't base on that because, like, okay, my son's name is Luca, and he didn't like the movie Luca. Like, it wasn't because we had told him it was Disney, and he's like, "Where's Mickey?" Like, he didn't understand how the kid is a sea monster, like who, spoiler alert, who turns into a human being when he walks on land. So it's probably not the best barometer. But I appreciate your time. You guys want to make sure you follow Allana. What's the Twitter handle so people know exactly where
just Allana Tauhauer, Tachauer. And we will be doing a lot of content this week, so definitely follow along.
Good stuff, Allana. Thank you so much, and we won't be strangers. I hope we don't bother you too much because we'll definitely want to get you on the show.
Bother me away. Hopefully next time I'll have a little bit better of an audio situation. But I appreciate your time.
You sound fine to me, and I don't even mind the headphones because I don't know what an AirPod is. By the way, Jonathan Ramlakan, he's so mad that I spoiled the movie Luca. Dude, spoiler alert, damn. No, did you not watch the trailer? Like, you could see it in the trailer that the kid turns into that he's a sea monster on the ocean and he's a man on land. So I don't know. I don't know what the deal is about that. Oh, man. So we got, I want to bring Sean Stanley back into the frame here because I had promised him that I wanted to do like a couple minutes on pro wrestling. And I know Jakari kind of mentioned this in passing when he was on because Jakari, of course, and Manny's already shaking his head. He's like, he knows that our live viewership is going to just dive off of the cliff here. No, that's not true. In fact, I see the type of response that One Fall gets with Sean and Jonathan and Jakari. People love pro wrestling. Sean, can you explain to me why this communist Vince McMahon has cut Bray Wyatt? Because I'm a very casual wrestling fan, and like Bray Wyatt is one of the few guys who was left on that roster that I actually recognized and respected. I enjoy Bray Wyatt. Why did they get rid of him?
Well, supposedly it's come out that it's budget cuts, but you usually don't budget cut one person. So, and then now it's also come out that secretly behind the scenes, his wife, who was an announcer, was released 3 months ago, which was right after WrestleMania, which was the last time Bray Wyatt was on TV. So I think it's all starting to come together. And then also about right when this show started, there was a little bit of news coming out that Ric Flair has also been released from his Legends deal with WWE. So
oh my God, he's like 80. That's cruelty to the elderly to release that guy.
Oh man, dude, he's got to pay them bills. He's got to pay the bills. But there's a lot going on, especially with the AEW now, because they got linked to CM Punk and everything else going on now. The only question I got is they have 2 hours of TV, and I see you, Manny. I see you sleeping, buddy.
By the way,
I'm sorry,
Manny. Manny, stay on the frame because
All
I
right.
have a hot soccer take.
Manny
that-
popped up and viewership's going up already.
We've tripled our viewership when the beautiful face and the salt and pepper hair of Manny who I think is broadcasting live from the boiler room. Like he is in like it looks like he is broadcasting from inside the furnace somewhere, and yet he decorated his space with the Real Madrid bumper sticker in the back. I have to preface the hell out of this take because people are going to judge what I'm about to say, and they're going to make assumptions about me that are not true. I'm kind of glad in a weird way that the U.S. women's national team lost to Canada today and were eliminated from the Olympics. But before you judge me, it's not for the reasons you think, because people are going to say, oh, hey, anybody rooting against USWNT, that must mean you're MAGA. That must mean you're against equal pay. I am not either of those things. Guys, I just think seeing the rest of the world close the gap at least a little bit on the U.S. women's national team. Oh, come on. I see what you put on the crawl. Donno is un-American. Oh, no, guys. I just think it's better for women's soccer if the rest of the world starts to close the gap, because I've been watching this U.S. women's national team since Mia Hamm in the 90s, and they typically smack everybody 6-0, 8-0, 12-0. I mean, I think they're still scoring on Thailand from like 3 years ago in the Women's World Cup. I think that the rest of the world is closing the gap a little bit. I think this is a good thing for soccer. Also, I'm curious to see how the women's national team bounces back from this, okay? Because you remember, I will use men's basketball as an example, the worldwide game, right? If not for adversity in the late 80s, we wouldn't have had the 1992 Dream Team, okay? If not for adversity in 2004, we wouldn't have had the Redeem Team in Beijing with LeBron, Wade, and Bosh and Carmelo and all those superstars, right? So I think this U.S. women's national team, who, by the way, this group, they have won everything. Like, you talk about the medals and trophies they've collected, Olympic gold medalists, World Cup championships. Have they gotten a little bit complacent? Probably, right? So instead of USA just smacking everybody 6-0, to see the rest of the world actually closing the gap, I think is better for women's soccer as a whole. And I think it's also better, Manny, for the USA in the long run, because this will give them the motivation and the drive to come back stronger in the next international tournament.
No, Alex, listen, I don't think nobody can say that this team kind of seemed unmotivated. I mean, listen, I'm sorry, losing 5-0 in the group game stage. I understand that Sweden's good, but you shouldn't lose like that. And in all honesty, like, the effort really wasn't there for 90 minutes throughout the whole tournament. But after winning consecutive World Cups, you actually also won the Olympics, I believe, as well. Yeah. What is the ceiling after that when it comes to women's soccer per se, right? It's not really competitive. I think what this does is they put everybody back to the drawing board, and they kind of analyze a little bit. Listen, some of these players, let's be honest, Morgan, Carly Lloyd, they're getting up there in age. You need to start bringing up new blood, right? And then one thing, though, that I just found out as well is that I guess the federation told the coach that he needed to bring the players that won the cups to the Olympics, right? So then now, after you've seen the result, maybe this is the wake-up call that the federation says, all right, listen, we're not even going to get gold. They might have an opportunity for bronze, but that's not the goal. The goal is always to win. And so then now they come back home, and now they'll see what happens. But I just personally think that the players that are on this team that have won the consecutive cups in the Olympics, there's just so much to the ceiling and effort that you could probably have that I think it's time, not for a change, but you need something fresh, something new, a new motivation. Because all these players are from the coach that's not there anymore. Yeah. They all know her message. They all know her tactics. They all went through all those things. Listen, this team lost to the final in Japan against them. And then they won the consecutive World Cups. I mean, it's pretty hard to top that in women's soccer. I don't know of any other.
It's a dynasty. It's the greatest dynasty, the greatest dynasty in the history of that sport, and it's not close.
And it's not even close. So what can you add to that? Yeah, a gold medal would have been nice, but let's be honest here. This team is aging, and you need to get some new players in there. So I think this is just a learning curve for the federation itself when it comes to the women's side. To say, you know what, let's regroup. Let's see who stays and goes. Because in all honesty, I love Alex Morgan. She looked right? Carly Lloyd coming off the bench. She's getting up there in age. You know, their best player, in all honesty, to me, was their goalkeeper that unfortunately had to leave before halftime. So get something in there. But listen, kudos to the women. They battled. They'll be in there for third place. But can we talk about the men's national team? I have not been this excited.
I lost a bet on them, man. I bet on Mexico.
Un-American.
That is your
Un-American.
That is your damn problem, not mine. I have not felt this confident in this federation since Landon Donovan scored an extra time against Algeria. How long was that? 11 years ago.
Yeah, I was going to say 10 years ago, but 11. Wow.
Go USA. First qualifying game is against Canada, which Canada proved to me that they can play soccer. Which now sucks because normally we can't beat them in hockey, and we normally beat them in soccer. So now it kind of feels like
they're better at us than everything. At everything, they're better than us now.
All right, enough soccer.
So that fantastic stuff, Manny and Sean. And by the way, people actually really supported the couple minutes that we did on pro wrestling. So there you go. If I know it put Manny to sleep, but it seemed to actually perk up the audience. And thanks to everyone on the super chat. Ralph the Ace is the latest donor. We absolutely love you guys. So this is Manny Fernandez is aboard. Wow, 3 amazing, awesome radio icons and legends all together. Well, the real legend
around the way a little bit there.
The real legend is Sean Stanley. I'm just tagging along with this.
No, buddy, I'm hanging on to you daily.
No, you're good. Want to offer a big thank you again to Allana Tachauer for joining us, talking all things Miami Heat, for Jakari Givens, talking all things Miami Dolphins with us. Of course, this entire episode is going to be available for replay on YouTube. It's also going to be available for podcast replay. We're working on a new podcast feed for 5R Live because Ethan has a show launching as well in the next couple of weeks. But for right now, and by the way, yes, thank you, Alex, who says he likes my hat. I'm all Bitcoined out today, guys. Maybe I'll be all like Ethereum'd out tomorrow because I do support multiple cryptos, but I've got to throw respect to Bitcoin, which is the big daddy. So temporarily, all of these episodes, audio-wise, the podcasts get posted on the 5 Rings Canes feed. So you can, of course, get all the 5 Rings Canes episodes there, but the Donno Dailies as well until we get the new 5R Live podcast account created. And want to throw shout outs to some sponsors that are coming aboard within the next couple of days. We're going to have You Break Wheel Fix aboard full time. And I'm going to have You Break Wheel Fix. It's going to be the sponsor for our world famous Terrible Take Tuesday segment, which is going to debut tomorrow, at least on this platform, because this will be our first Tuesday show on 5 Reasons Sports. You Break Wheel Fix. They repair cracked and bent wheels, and they will trick out your wheels to make them look incredible. I absolutely love these guys. And also coming aboard this week, I'm so excited for this because I love action and I love talking sports betting. And this is a platform I believe in. They do an incredible job. You can see why they have some of the best reviews in the industry. BetUS.com is coming aboard this week. In fact, we already have our promo code is going to be ready to go. When you sign up, you get a deal, you get a bonus with our code 5RSN125. And we're going to have that in all of our graphics later in the week, so you'll know. 5RSN125. Cannot wait for BetUS to come aboard. We'll have plenty of gambling related content on the show because it's just become a big part of the sporting landscape. I mean, people no longer pretend that gambling is not a big part of sports. Like, it's really fun to have action. It enhances the experience and you create some amazing moments with that. And BetUS is an awesome, awesome platform because they have odds on anything you can possibly imagine. So we'll welcome them and You Break Wheel Fix to the family this week. And a big shout out to the OGs, the Quarterdeck Seafood Bar and Neighborhood Grill. The Quarterdeck are our title sponsor here on Donno Daily. I start to get hungry when I talk about the Quarterdeck. I haven't had lunch yet, so I am going to be diving in. I'm going to head over to the Quarterdeck. I'm going to get the buffalo shrimp appetizer. I'm going to get the Italian beef sandwich, which is absolutely incredible. And I'm going to have the key lime cheesecake. This is going to be a 3-course meal. I'm going to gain 10 pounds today, but it's going to be absolutely worth it. You knock down all that food with the cold beer and the amazing cocktails at the Quarterdeck and make the Quarterdeck your spot, my friends, to watch every UFC pay-per-view fight with zero cover charge. You pay nothing at the door for a UFC pay-per-view fight while you enjoy the delicious food, the awesome drinks, and the friends you will inevitably make at the quarter deck, because there's nothing more fun than the camaraderie of watching a big game or a big fight at the quarter deck. I will high five people, social distancing and all that good stuff, but I go a little crazy when I'm watching my teams at the quarter deck. So huge thank you to the quarter deck. Peep their menu and visit them online at quarterdeckrestaurants.com. The quarter deck is where you come for the food and stay for the fun. We're loaded again tomorrow. Tomorrow, we're going to have Brady Hawk on, the boy genius. Brady Hawk is going to talk with us about floor spacing. He's going to talk about free agency so far with the Miami Heat, because we're going to have some moves made by tomorrow at noon, my friends. And we're going to talk Dolphins training camp with the legend Alfredo Arteaga from 3 yards per carry. So we will talk to you guys again tomorrow, same place, 12 noon, right here on Donno Daily on the 5 Reasons Sports Network.